allied with the strongest dictatorship on earth, Soviet Union at the time, against or vis-a-vis the strongest democracy on earth, that's the United States, and the biggest dictatorship in terms of population, that is People's Republic of China. So that is how the interesting and the contradictory nature of the Cold War play into the geopolitics and the idea of democracy. And so when we're talking about the idea of democracy and foreign policy making, then the issue will be what kind of the democracy, what the democracy can serve on the foreign policy end. What kind of the foreign policy tool that also the democracy can provide for the purposes. And especially if you look at the international relations theory, particularly the dominant realist discourse, they talk about the power structure, they talk about balance of power, balance of threat, whatever. But very few of them has put the regime type as a very important factors in the foreign policy or international politics. Of course, there are other schools, like constructivist schools. They would like to put the regime type or democracy idea as one important factors in the international politics. But in terms of the practices, the the democracy or those ideas really play a very consequential role. I'm not saying that it really play a significant role, but what I'm saying is that it really play a consequential role in terms of how the foreign policy is being made or the choices being adopted. So that when we, on her paper, talk about how the democracy during, in India during the Cold War era wasn't a big factor in terms of India's foreign policy decision. But then after the Cold War, the democracy started to become more prominent in the foreign policy discourses. I think probably that also reveals some underneath structural changes in terms of the international political structures changes associated with the collapse of Soviet Union, how the democracy itself started to become the norm in the international politics, so that the promoting or even the prospering the so-called democracy started to acquire a bigger role in the foreign policy world. I also think that it is important to know that in the India's course, in India's cases, where the emerging of democracy in the foreign policy making also happens to be at a time where the party transition started to take place. That is, in the past, the Congress Party has been dominant in Indian politics, but then and after the Cold War ended, the BJP started to get a more prominent role, and also associated with that, the democracy started to become a bigger voices in terms of India's foreign policy making. So it's also interesting to see how the transformation of the political structure within India and the party whose idea associated with it, and look at the different way in terms of the democracy play in the decisions. And that is an important factor to see how why the democracy started to acquire a more prominent role in the Indian foreign policy decision after the Cold War. And finally, I think in this paper, when she talked about the democratic diamond, that is the Japan Prime Minister Abe Shinzo once promoted, and now of course he probably will promote it even more, and how the democracy probably will also gain a more important influence in the Asian geopolitics. I think probably we also need to look at the other way around, that is it because of the democracy that we wanted to promote, or it is because we already have a differentiation. Then we use the nano-democracy to differentiate each other. So is it a cause or is it an effect? And I think that is the another thing probably that deserves to take a closer look. So this is my comment on the first paper. And now directly go to the third paper because it is a big Indonesian lessons that I also got taught. Of course, the third paper, in her research, the conclusion was that probably the economy or the class factors was not a big, or did not play a big influence in terms of how the voter identification with certain candidates. That is, while the campaign was run through the poor versus rich, the have-not versus have. However, in terms of the voting decisions, and in her research, she found out that the people in the underclass are not that prone to vote for Jokowi, and actually it's the other way around, that the people who are more well-educated and the people who are more affluent, they tended to vote with Jokowi. But I think in terms of the how to know why the voter behavior is like this, probably we need to look at the election. Is it because of the economic factors, or it is an election about the paradigm change? That is, this is more about the election, whether people wanted to resort to the way of the authoritarian past to manage the pathway of managing this country, or a new way that the country should be managed. So I think that probably is another factor that is important for us to know that how the voters are casting, why the voters are casting their votes like this. Another thing that's also worth noticing is that Susilo, the former president, of course, right now he stepped down. In year 2009, if I don't remember wrong, Susilo was, he got his election campaign, he's won. But then from year 2009 all the way to year 2014, in those 4 or 5 years, that Susilo has been blamed for not implementing the necessary economic reform that is crucial for the Indonesia to jump forward. And Susilo also resort back to the pro-federal politics in order to a certain extent, to buy the underclass for their votes support in his governance. And then probably this pattern also helped to explain why the people of the underprivileged class, they tended to vote with the candidate that Susilo are supporting, because they are anticipating probably some of the pro-federal politics or those endorsement or certain benefits they are able to receive will continue because of the candidates that Susilo supports. That is a proposal. But then with the new president, that is the Jokowi, everything is so much unknown. And then that will make them to be less prone to support the Jokowi, which to them is a big uncertain factor. So this is my comment or my reading for the third papers. And then go to the second papers. Second paper, of course, talk about the social divide and the party, and how they function through a democracy. It laid out several divisions in the societies, and also the institutional flaws associated with, this is a division in society and the institutional flaw, and see how the combination effects of them influence the function of democracy in Taiwan. I think there are, it is important, in my view, to actually know what the interplay between them. Because when we talk about the party politics and also the institution, of course with the social cleavage, in the democracy, to a certain extent, that democracy will tend to consolidate the cleavage because the party, in order to compete against the votes, against each other, that they tended to exploit those differences. And to a certain extent, that will help to consolidate the already existing social cleavage and then crystallize it. But on the other hand, that in the past several years, there are several attempts try to cross over or try to solve this the crystallization of social cleavage, and by introducing some institutional amendments. One example is the first past the vote system in the legislative year elections. Prior to the year 2008 legislative elections, what Taiwan has is about SNTV system. That is, we have the middle-sized district with multiple seats, legislators. And then those system has been blamed as it was helping to crystallize the very extreme views in Taiwan. Because the candidates, if they are able to appeal to those voters in the extreme end of the ideological spectrums, they can guarantee themselves to get voted, to be elected. So that this system has been blamed for not helping Taiwan to actually reach the kind of the social compromises. But then, after we adopted the first past the vote system, and with the smaller districts, and in each in the legislative election, this system now has been blamed for it is creating the bigger party versus smaller party, and the smaller party probably won't be able to increase its own votes and its own share in the legislative yuan. And then probably that will force a smaller party, due to the lack of the other institutional tool, then they will have resorted to the social mobilization in order to get their voice heard and to exercise pressure on the ruling party.